He's the voiceover studio engineer of the Stars in Los Angeles, California, a Virginia Tech grad with a knowledge of recording studios unmatched in his field. He's a voice actor from Buffalo, New York, with 30 years experience in recording studios and behind the mic. He solves people's home voiceover studio problems in the blink of an eye. Together, there's no studio problem they can't solve, and they'll do it for you tonight. Welcome to East West Audio Body Shop. Now, live from a basement in Buffalo and an office in L.A., here are Dan Leonard and George Whittam.
Good evening. I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
And George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East West Audio Body Shop. Thank you. And our special, super special, our favorite guest of all time. He's like the third EWABS shopper because he's now in the E. John Taylor, welcome to East West Audio Body Shop.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, it is. And you're having more fun than us.
I always have fun. You guys are a lot of fun to be around, even if there is sort of, minor technical fires that need to be put out. Yes. It's seat of the pants. It's fun.
This is not radio.
It kind of is.
Well, it is radio, except for the fact that if we don't start on time, we don't all get fired.
That's true.
That's true.
You guys are responsible for me going back into radio. Just wanted to know.
Yes. Did it really influence
Explain that.
Well, I just got so frustrated at how amateurish you two are that I...
By the way, John, this is your volume right here if you need more.
I always need more.
More?
No, I don't. Stop it. Make it stop. No, I just had so much fun doing the show. I thought, it might be fun to actually do a show. So since about November, I've been doing a show 5 days a week on the radio.
Cool.
And collecting a 5 figures doing it.
Wow. And you get to continue to put voiceover gigs out, out the door.
I'm still doing the voiceover thing, but I have a radio show.
But
That's
you
great.
have the skill and the experience to walk that line between the two and switch your voice is very versatile, so you're actually able to know when to shut off the radio voice.
Yeah, I don't think my radio voice is very different than my regular voice anyway. Just because I was a morning guy, and it wasn't like, hey, Shani and Shevin, let's go look at the weather right now. It's all, that kind of phony baloney thing.
That helps.
Are you doing a morning show, John?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, I remember doing morning shows. You start hallucinating about 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
I actually sleep in shifts. Seriously. I go to bed at 10, wake up at 3, do the heavy lifting of show prep, get on the air 6 to 10, get home at 11:15, have a sandwich, 11:30, take a nap till 1. Then I start my second day job, which is auditions and jobs and the West Coast corporate masters that I serve. So
corporate masters.
I have corporate masters. I have more bosses than, anybody in voiceover. How many bosses do you have? I don't know.
Let me talk about how many bosses that I have.
Yeah, exactly. Count
over 400.
Count the rifles in the firing squad, and you'll know how many bosses I have. Yes. But I am not complaining. I am just loving it, and it's like Jerry Seinfeld was on Larry King shortly after he sold the series into syndication and was collecting $1 million an episode for the final season. Mm-hmm. And Larry was like, "So, do you feel guilty about all that money?" And he's like, "No, I did comedy free for 10 years. I don't feel guilty about this money at all." And
doesn't bother me.
And a lot of people out there have been doing voiceover, reading for the blind, and doing people's pet projects and trying to get a foothold in the industry by doing scratch tracks and spec jobs and getting involved in people's projects. And a lot of times you don't get paid. A lot of times you think you're going to get paid and they never pay you, right? The small business people, how much billing do you have out right now?
A couple.
Check in the mail.
And the irony is the ones that I'm waiting for are some of the highest earning.
Yeah, but they're busy. They're busy.
They're busy.
But then
they're too busy to have bookkeepers apparently.
Dan, how many? You probably have a lot out there, right?
I'm constantly busy.
Yeah, so then we have
a lot of work to be done. I do a lot of long format projects and e-learning stuff, and it comes in every day.
Yeah. So in essence, in a lot of, we're doing everything on spec, hoping we'll get paid.
Well,
my clients have been very, very good to me.
Most of them.
I flipped the script on that. I flipped the script, but then again, I'm not doing voiceover. I'm doing something different.
You're a consultant.
I'm a consultant. Call me crazy, but I wonder how many of us out there could work on the same kind of billing system that I do, which is basically paying for credit, paying for credits, and then receiving the work. I mean, people thought I was crazy for doing that.
I think you're brilliant.
People probably still think I'm crazy, and some people probably hate me for it. But on the whole, it has really, really helped the billing, collecting, the invoicing, and all that stuff. I mean, I still do invoicing, but it's very rare now that I have to do collections.
So tell us, you've been putting pictures on Facebook and Google Plus of the project you just did for the legendary actor Malcolm McDowell.
McDowell.
And how is it to work with him? Because he plays such creepy, sinister people. I know he's an actor, but I mean, how is it to work with Mr. Malcolm McDowell?
He's a pretty charming guy. He's got that that sharp tongue of an Englishman. He swears like a sailor.
Nice.
Very funny, very surly, but very nice. He made me a lovely cup of tea with a spot of milk each time I was there, which was perfectly made. Just little things like that, little touches.
Crumpets? Were there crumpets?
No crumpets.
Scones?
Only tea.
Perhaps you would like a scone or a Palm Wonderful.
But
would you like a Palm Wonderful? I have a whole case. They send it to me. I have a lifetime supply because I do the voiceover for Palm Wonderful.
But
I take a sip and go, it's not very good. It's palm adequate. Palm nauseating. I don't like pomegranate.
You mix it with a little gin, you can make a pomegranate martini out of it. It's fabulous.
Palm just sort of so.
But
put some vodka in, it's Palm Wonderful.
He was very
wonderful.
Very cool to work with. He's still a busy actor.
Yeah.
He's got all kinds of projects in the works. And
loved him in Entourage. He was great in that.
Yeah. I saw him in Easy A, which I asked him about because he shot in his own backyard. I mean, literally he shot in Ojai. Yeah. And he said, the director was walking around town. He saw me at a cafe, figured I must live here, asked their agent, who happened to be the same agent, which is really funny. And they were like, and Malcolm's like, sure,
quite often how I get my jobs.
Yeah. Isn't that
directors accosting me in cafes. Yes. Hey, you're John Taylor. Would you like some work? Yeah, sure. Could you pick up this tab first as a deposit?
No, he was very easy to work with. The hardest part was scheduling, and that's always going to be a major problem with anybody who's busy. So that was a pain. I mean, it took a month after me getting all the stuff to get in there and actually install it. It was sitting in my house, piled in the corner
But you were using his Mac Mini.
I used his Mac Mini for one EWABS.
Really?
I used it when my system was down for the count. I actually was using his Mac Mini.
Nice.
And it worked.
Which he'll never know.
Does he let you borrow the car?
He let me borrow his XKE.
Really? It's a Jaguar.
He had a new XKJ.
Notice the interior. And the color is pomegranate.
And he had the original, the super sexy 60s XKE.
E-Type, yeah.
E-Type?
The E-Type, yeah, they are.
That's the coolest car.
Well, that's cool though. You get to work with cool people, but you look at his studio and the equipment and the way it's set up. I'm not for nothing. I mean, it's not a cheap setup, but it is not a bank breaking kind of setup.
No.
As far as the room treatment was probably the most expensive stuff. Am I wrong?
Well, I think I was the most expensive stuff. Actually, just me going out there to do it. I mean, he's in Ojai.
Yeah,
it's an hour and 45-minute drive from here.
So he gets charged for that.
And plus, I actually ended up going out there a second time because the first time I went to install it all, he wasn't around. Mm-hmm. His wife wasn't around, and so I had to make another drive out. That I did on my own time, which was a tremendous time investment.
But the stuff is not beyond the reach of the average regular person who's beginning their career.
Yeah, I'm whining about time and all this crap. But anyway, we used a Sennheiser MK4, which is a very new mic, but it's only $300 mic. It's the cheapest Sennheiser. I don't know if it's the cheapest Sennheiser, but it's the cheapest large diaphragm condenser mic that Neumann Sennheiser has ever made by a large margin.
I hear it's very good. Do you have an example of it?
I do. Would you all like to hear it?
Let's hear an example of the new Sennheiser MK4.
Let's see what Malcolm McDowell sounds like.
Here it is.
With mirth and laughter let old wrinkles come. Why should a man, whose blood is warm within, sit like his grandsire cut in alabaster, sleep when he wakes, and creep into the jaundice by being peevish?
And creep into the jaundice by being peevish. What is he saying?
Shakespeare.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, it's Shakespeare. No, I said, can you read me something? Because I need to check everything. And he was like,
There once was a man from Nantucket who's... Oh, never mind. Let me get some Shakespeare. It sounds great, though. But, of course, he could read anything, and it would sound great because he's got that great Shakespearean sound.
Well,
that's true.
Yeah, he started saying "Palm Wonderful" and whatever, and then he was like, and then I'll do some Shakespeare. And it sounds like perfect.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So that's a Sennheiser MK4. I saw one the other day at Banjo Emporium for $299. I think it was. Was it $399?
$299. $299.
$299.
This is a German mic made in Germany at the Sennheiser plant. This is not outsourced to China. Mm-hmm. So these guys are saying, you know what? MXL and everybody else making Chinese mics, we're not going away, us Germans. And $300, that's serious. Because the next one up from that is the Neumann TLM 102, which is $700.
And this is only 200.
Yeah, no.
200.
300.
Oh, 300. Couldn't you get me a discount to 200?
Yeah. Of course, you guys are hearing that mic through a lot of processing because you're hearing it through our whole chain of processing.
The audio chain.
So I will put up some dry and processed samples from his booth on the mic so you can hear it. But needless to say, it's an extremely pleasant sounding mic. It's very smooth. The only thing it doesn't have any high pass filter switch, which I kind of like. I like to be able to flick that switch and know that there's no more rumble. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have any switches, so that's where they saved some money. They didn't do anything fancy. Did not come with a shock mount. So it's extremely stripped down packaging wise. Comes in a cardboard box.
If you have restless leg syndrome, like I do, it will shake the mic and cause the rumbling.
Somebody's asking here, how does the MK4 compare to, say, Harlan Hogan mic or a TLM 103? We've had this discussion before. It's always a matter of the ear of the beholder, and everybody's going to sound good on any good large condenser mic. You're just going to sound slightly different on each one of them. But he sounded pretty darn good on that.
Yeah, your sound just got a lot better. All of a sudden, the first half of that, Dan, was the Skype was being really persnickety, but now it sounds fine.
I'm glad to hear that.
We could understand
Skype was
you.
Being persnickety.
Yes, we could understand you, but it was very choppy.
Okay.
The point is, what is it? Everybody's going to. That's the thing. Harlan has the 279 Harlan Hogan VO1. This mic is going to really be compared to that mic because they're in the same price range.
They sound kind of the same as far as I could hear.
I think they're, put them up next to each other and A, B in the same studio, and I'm sure they have their subtle differences.
What was the compressor?
Well, the compressor you were hearing just now, that was Twisted Wave.
Okay, so it was inside software.
Yeah, everything. Okay. Yeah, I set up a stack for him, which they'll probably never even use, but I set up a stack just to do basic auditioning because that's really all he needs and wants to do from there right now.
Perfect.
But the long-term goal is for him to be able to do Source Connect, and I told him about SoundStreak because his wife is the brains of the outfit.
As it is most places.
And he'll tell me, and he'll be glad to admit that. She's half his age, maybe. But so he really grasps technology. She grasps the tech. She's probably my age. And she's like, she was in lockstep with me on this stuff. She was sharp. So I was telling, she was like, how can he work the picture? And I was like, well, it's not that easy, but there's this new thing, SoundStreak, which I want to talk about more in depth on another show because there's too much to talk about today already. But, that could make it possible for him to start doing work to picture.
Excellent.
So anyway, very cool. I may have to work with him some more. We didn't have internet connection there when I was there. He said it cost $70,000 to get Time Warner to run a high-speed data network to their house, which is about a mile off the road.
Oh, wow. So they had to hang it off the poles.
They had to trench all the way up to the house.
Had a chain gang digging a hole along there.
Yeah. It was incredibly costly just to get that. ISDN not an option.
Mm-hmm. Good.
So Source Connect is going to be the way that we're going to go. So Yeah, so it was cool. I mean, it was really almost all the studios I do, unless there's actual construction involved, are a 1 day in and out thing. Those acoustic panels went up. I had the ranch hand help me. The countertop was already put in for me. I showed up. We put the acoustics up, put all the gear in, plugged it all in, did some tweaks, and it was done.
He has a ranch hand?
He has a ranch hand.
Or as he says, a ranch hand.
Yeah, and the guy lives on the property.
His name is Rusty.
Yeah, the guy.
He was a showgirl.
Yeah, the ranch hand.
But that was 30 years ago when they used to have a show.
I hope I'm saying not. I hope I'm not saying too much, Malcolm. If you actually end up watching this at some point.
Well, no, you're not giving the address or the coordinates or anything like that. And the man deserves his privacy and obviously wants to be able to maximize his auditions and be able to live in the country. As any proper British gentleman would want to do.
Yeah, and be one of us. And that's the most important thing. Joining our community of voice people.
Even celebrities want to be one of you guys.
Wow.
So there you go.
We're the cool kids, Dan.
That's true. Well, tell you what, why don't we take a break right now? And we can get it because I know, George, you've got a great feature coming up on sailing of all things. See, I should be the one doing that. And we've got some stuff about talking about back end and front end processing and more with John Taylor. So stay right where you are. We'll be right back here on East West Audio Body Shop.
This is East West Audio Body Shop with Dan Leonard in the East and George Whittam in the West. Now back to two characters that didn't have anything else better to do, Dan and George.
Yeah, we spend an awful lot of time not doing it. So, see, it's amazing how much time this show takes up every week. So
that's true.
By the way, we were actually thinking of having another telethon this week. This comes to you thanks to your donations. There is a donate tab on our website at ewabs.com. If you look right above Watch Live, isn't that you made a better button for it, didn't you, George?
Oh, for
making donations to these shows.
Well, it's been on the homepage, and maybe it's not as glaringly obvious as it should be. But if you do go to ewabs.com, right on the front page on the left-hand column, you'll see it, contribute here. Want to support the show? Contribute here. So that would be a way that you can just send a little donation by PayPal into our account and keep the show on the air and keep us improving things. And
if you'd like things to improve, I suggest a big donation.
Yeah, we haven't gotten our angel yet. We're waiting for that angel to land.
We have a couple, but
we do. Everybody's angels, but.
Yeah, the show doesn't cost us a whole lot. It's a lot of investment of time and stuff like that. Yeah. But there are certain things that will make this show even more amazing than it's already been.
Yeah,
and there is a lot of really good information that is given out by you guys and other guests besides me. But yeah, you guys give out some good info, so it has value. That's valuable information exchanged here.
So go to your phones right now and
Well, yeah, we love the donations. We also love it when people buy swag, and that doesn't donate as much per purchase, but it still helps the show. Gets our faces on your mugs and your T-shirts and walking around town where people go, hey, who are those two weirdos on your shirt?
And you guys have just introduced the new EWABS waterboarding home torture kit.
Yes.
Why
yes.
torture your friends and relatives by watching the EWABS false starts and technical difficulties at the beginning of the show, when you can safely and effectively torture your relatives using our home EWABS waterboarding kit?
Wow, I hadn't thought of that.
Call right now. All you need
Operators are standing by.
right. All you need is a telephone and running water.
Judy, it's not the swag you're thinking of, Judy. By the way,
Well, hey, she does it under a bed.
What did Judy say?
she said swag.
Anyway.
And Susan Bernard has corrected her. It means marketing merchandise.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Susan. Well, why don't we move on to the next thing? Now, you have a great segment coming up here, George. I'm a sailor. I haven't sailed in a long time, but I was a Great Lakes sailor and raced on it. So I understand this next segment coming up. You seemed a little lost, but why don't we tell them a little bit what's going on here?
The video speaks for itself, but just watch the video.
Cue
That makes it easy.
Here you go.
sailing.
Hi, this is George Whittam in the West with East West Audio Body Shop, and here I am down at Redondo Beach Harbor to see off Armando Valdes-Kennedy, who's going along on the X-Pac 8000 expedition. They are sailing from here all the way across the Pacific Ocean, about 8,000 miles on sail power alone. No engines of any kind. But why is this interesting? Well, Armando happens to be a full-time working voice actor, and he has to still maintain his clients while he's out at sea. So we're going to go on the boat in just a minute here and figure out exactly what it is he's going to do to pull this off.
We are sailing approximately 8,500 miles from California to the Philippines to raise awareness for dolphins, the ethical treatment of dolphins. And the captain is Jim Sullivan, a captain and environmentalist. We are going to the Philippines. We're departing as soon as possible. I'm going to be running a mobile voiceover studio from this 30-foot sailboat.
The X-Pac 8000 for me is about trying to cross the longest non-stop downhill run in the world from the Philippines from LA to the Philippines, which is the ancient route of the Spanish galleon ships in the 1700s. And of course they had no engines as well. So we'll be the first modern day and the smallest sailboat, sail without engine, to the Philippines, and we're sailing right through Typhoon Alley where there's more tropical storms than any place else in the world. It's interesting. This is what makes our voyage even more interactive. It's called our tracking device from Ion Earth. Ion Earth has supplied us with this unit they use on off-road races, Baja 500, Iditarod, Alaska races, which they're doing right now actually. Not only does it give the position, it gives the speed of the vessel, like it's going 5-6 knots. It also gives the heading and also gives the temperature in real time. I would really encourage people to log on to xpac8000.com. That's xpac8000.com, and they'll be able to actually go back and see our route where we went with the line too.
I actually met Jim just over 2 weeks ago. I read this article in the Argonaut about this guy who was going to sail engineless nonstop across the Pacific Ocean to raise awareness about the ethical treatment of dolphins and how they should really be allowed to stay in their natural habitat. And when I was 19 years old, I crewed with Sea Shepherd, and I was very involved. It was a huge part of my life, and throughout my life, it's always been really important to me. And towards the end of the article, there's a little. The reporter asked him, "So Jim, are you going to go alone?" And Jim replied, "Yeah, I'm going to go alone unless the right person comes along." And I just thought, I'm the right person. So anyway, I tracked him down at the Delray Yacht Club, and actually I tracked his number from the Delray Yacht Club, then found him in the marina in Marina Del Rey. And obviously, you got to do that there's a little dance you do. I mean, I didn't know the guy, he didn't know me, so you got to make sure that, we're going for 3 months into the Pacific. You got to make sure that you can trust this guy. And after about 8 days, we kind of said, okay, I think we can do this. I think, we feel comfortable enough with each other that we respect each other as sailors and as technicians and as environmentalists, and we respect each other's vision. There may be a little bit of variance in there, which hopefully will lead to some interesting discussions on camera while we're underway. Okay, so this is my mobile voiceover studio. I got my MacBook Pro. I'm taking a Mac Air for redundancy. I've got my Sennheiser 416. I got my Sony cans. And the Apogee One, I forgot to mention. We got the Apogee One. Yeah, I've had a lot of success with it. And I've used this exact same setup from Poland, from London, from Scotland, from the North Sea. Originally tested it out on the Offshore Odyssey this past summer, and it worked really, really well. As a matter of fact, one of my clients didn't even know I was gone, so that's a benefit. And then redundancy on everything, because there's no way to get any parts out there, or any tech help. So,
what is your software of choice?
I use Pro Tools. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been using Pro Tools for a long time. And then for sending the files back, we've got a Skipper 150 satellite transmitter, which works from anywhere in the world. As far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is the first time that a voiceover studio is going to be professionally operating from a sailboat in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. I think this is the first time. I'm real happy about that. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, this is pretty much my setup. And then up here, I'm gonna drop a towel. This towel, we're gonna stick it Velcro and drop it down here. Got a pillow here. Got a couple pillows in there. I'm gonna put a couple more pillows in here, and then another blanket right here, and that is going to work to dampen the noise as much as possible. When we're out there in the ocean, there really ought not be too much noise. As you were saying, George, there's going to be some vibration from the hull, but we've tested it out. We tested it out this past weekend, and the boat rides real smooth. So hopefully, unless we get in a storm, but if we get in a storm, I'm probably not going to be. Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to be recording if we get in a storm. So these two right here, these black ones, are what Jim was planning to take by himself. There's no engine. It's all under sail, no power. So he didn't really need. There's no autopilot. There's nothing. Almost everything is run. Just solar powered. So that's all he was going to take. And then I joined, and obviously I need power. So I don't know if you can see back there, but there's 2, 4, 6. It's a 6 battery bank, which is going to power everything that I need. And hopefully we've got enough reserve power. And I've got 2 solar panels on deck, and Jim's got 1 solar panel on deck, flexible. And we're hoping that that's going to be able to recharge everything so that we don't have to use a generator. I think you had a chance to speak to Jim, and he's very passionate about the cause, as am I. It's been something that, like I said, Sea Shepherd. I crewed with Sea Shepherd almost 20 years ago, and it's time to get back out in the ocean.
Wow, we're going to have him on when they get back. That's going to be quite a story.
Absolutely. I mean, I have to admit, I've never produced a film quite like that. I've never done anything like that before, that video. I've never done like a story. And it was totally like, no preparation. I showed up with the camera. I mean, I prepped my gear so I knew it was working, but that was it. I didn't write anything.
It was like Huell Hauser.
It was like...
If you've ever been to Southern California to see California's gold, you know who Huell Hauser is. Yeah. And you know what? As much as I'm making fun of him, they do those segments that are half-hour shows, and there's maybe 2, 3 edits. He just goes and he helps move the story forward and asks the right questions like you did, and you let your subject tell the story. And that's, get out of the way. You did a good job. And it's a really fascinating story.
It is.
We did some at-sea broadcasting. Remember when we were shipmates on we were on a cruise, voiceover cruise.
Yeah, the Voice Olympics cruise. Yeah.
And I had everything all set up in that cabin, ready to go. I did commercials.
Yeah, you had to blanket it. I mean, you had all the comforters covering all the walls, and we were in an interior, room, of course.
Because we're cheap. What do we need a balcony for?
Yeah, so it was pretty
We're only going to be in the bar or the casino or in our room. But the other thing, too, is what you need to do is steal a bunch of do not disturb signs, and this works in hotels, and you've seen this tip before. What you do is you put do not disturbs on everybody's door in the hallway, so there's no cleaning, no disturbing, no running in the halls, no running with scissors. And there was an interesting comment on the chat room saying when you're out, I think it was Ann Richardson said this.
Uh-huh.
When you're out at sea, there's no chance there'll be leaf blowers The bane of the voiceover. Oh, jeez, it's leaf blower time. No, I've got auditions.
Yeah. Unless, of course, you're watching SpongeBob where they use reef blowers.
Reef blowers. There you go. Well, you know, the guy who does the leaf blowing in my area, his name is Russell. Get it?
Russ. Very good.
Leaf blower, Russell. Okay.
Boom, boom.
All
right.
Oh, I've been gonged. Moving on to the next subject.
Yes. I think it's time to move on to the next subject. Well, the next subject, you got this one racked up, George?
I do, sir.
Okay, good. It's time for Tip of the Week. And we talk about this one all the time, and I usually explain what I'm talking about. But I thought this week's tip of the week I should really clearly illustrate what I mean when we talk about this subject. So roll it.
You got it.
Front end or back end? What do I mean? I'm talking about audio chains and processing. Your voice goes from here to your mouth to there through a cable and to your preamp and your digital interface. It gets turned into ones and zeros, goes down your USB or FireWire cable and into your computer. So when I say front end, I mean everything in between your mic and your digital interface. I'm finding many of you using preamps, but preamps with lots of other stuff. Preamps with compressors and EQ, and some even with noise gates. For voiceover, I find these devices unnecessary, especially if you don't understand what these things do. The reasons for them sound reasonable enough. You want to clean up the sound as you record so you don't have to spend time editing it. And on those 30-second spots, that adds up to what, like a couple of minutes? For sure, on long-format stuff, a front-end noise gate can save you time. But personally, I always say it's better to get your background noise down to a manageable level, physically, before you ever hit record. The other reason is just plain silly. Unless you're a full-time producer creating spots and mastering and mixing the final product, there's very little reason to process your voice. I think people get carried away and try to make their recordings sound like they do on the radio. Even worse, like on your radio in 1956. Deep and loud. It's not how you record that makes it sound the way it does on radio, or TV for that matter. Broadcast stations take audio and shove it through an audio chain that compresses it and equalizes it and makes it louder so it's very present on your radio. When you do it, especially if you don't know how, you're creating something loud but less dynamic. The subtleties of your voice get washed out. But chances are, if you're processing your audio that way, it's not even getting to the station because they probably hired someone else. I'm not a big fan of specialized outboard channel strips. They make you louder, but they do it the same way every time, unless you adjust them for different types of reads. But here's the number one reason I prefer doing any processing in my software, in post. When you record with processing on the front end, it's there forever. You don't do it right, it's wrong forever. If you record dry, no gates, compression, and EQ, you have total control of the output. You play with it until it sounds right, and even then with minute, subtle adjustments. And then you save it. But always save the original dry file. And that's my tip for the week.
Alrighty. Thank you very much. Yes. No, now let's have an open discussion about this. I mean, because George, you and I don't totally agree on this subject. Because I understand you work with a lot of high-end people doing a lot of promo work and stuff that just has to get out there fast. I think the majority of our crew here, not necessarily things aren't quite the time constraint. But my point being that most of the time you don't really need to be putting all that effort into it. Record your voice dry. If you need to use a little compression to get it loud, use some compression, but do it afterwards and take your time and adjust it so you get it just right.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what I do, like you said, Dan, I mean, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of people I work with that are an unusual case because they're doing stuff over ISDN. And if you're doing ISDN, you have to do your processing real time. however you choose to do it. You could do it with Pro Tools, and I have 1 or 2 people that do that, and I do not recommend that route. It's just much more that can go wrong. Or you can process with a mic processor. And actually, John's talking through a box I'm trying out right now called the Vorsys M1.
The Vorsys M1.
He sounds like Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, it's super.
The Vorsys M1.
Yeah. And the thing is quite amazing, but this is a radio processor. You can butcher the sound. It can sound completely out of control. But what it can do is if you have to stream real time and get the audio out there with no time to do post processing, you have to kind of rely on something like this. But for the majority of you, where ISDN is not a factor, I highly recommend processing on the post or on the back end. I mean, you can undo, you can fix stuff.
Guess what you also can do?
What?
Both. And I do it if there are clients that I don't know, that might not know the finer points of audio processing.
Yeah.
I will do an edited file with all the breaths and all the Jesus Christ stuff taken out, and just the stuff that was on the page. And I will copy the whole file and paste it into itself. So I have 2 versions, and then there'll be an A and a B. A is processed to death, the way I like it, and B is completely dry. And the bandwidth to upload it nowadays, we have it with our internet connections and box.net, or if you use Send It or Dropbox or whatever, you can send these pretty big files, and it doubles the size of it. And it's usually unprocessed WAV or AIF. It has, those are giant files. But the difference between a 35 megabyte file and a 70 in the world of cloud storage is not that big anymore. So if I know that they would, maybe they're not real familiar with how to, be an audio engineer. They're mainly just sort of trying to just get the stuff out the door, especially in radio stations. I give them both. Right. And I say the first half is the same as the second half, just different processing.
So you give them both in one file.
In one file.
You say, here's where it changes to the...
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
With sometimes a big tone in the middle to separate the two, or say when you get to the halfway, it's going to start to the beginning of what I'd done because it's going to be unprocessed.
Take your pick.
Yeah.
That's another way to do it. I mean, okay, so there's a couple ways to go about it, right? One, you ask your client what they want. If they know what they want, you give them what they want. Okay, that doesn't happen that often, right? 2, they know what they want. 2, they don't know what they want. So in that case,
sometimes
John's
they don't.
Technique is a really good idea.
Sometimes they don't know what they like until they hear it, or what they want until they. That sounds much more.
That's a very common problem.
Don't know what they want till it's gone.
Yeah, the directors rarely. I mean, I used to sit and listen to Don LaFontaine, do a read 4 times down. Mm-hmm. And once in a blue moon, you would actually hear a line read by somebody who was probably a third his age. Mm-hmm. And Don was a freaking trooper, but you could just see his face, just like, I can't believe it. Mm-hmm. But so they don't know what they want, or they want to cover their butts and they want to have every version possible.
But you know what? In this economy, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If somebody has blundered their way into a job that they're not qualified for, you got to help them keep that job. That's your job. It's to help them keep their job for one more day in this economy.
Right.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you as the actor, keeping that director, keeping them higher, in a job, which what goes around comes around.
So I'm right in the middle of you two and your disagreement about processing. Should you do it dry? Should you do it processed? Should you do it?
We don't disagree though. That's the thing.
John has the production experience to know what needs to be done and know how to do it tastefully. And if you don't know, then don't use front end processing. Use post processing, and you can also use another set of ears. Mm-hmm. Dan or myself, or I know John occasionally has done it.
I have.
Send a file, and we can set up processing presets for you that will create that winning audition sound.
You've done it on the outboard gear that I have that's for ISDN, so the real-time stuff is, it's pretty natural, pretty transparent, but it just has a little bit of edge. A
little something, maybe a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1 compression.
Just a little bit.
Maybe a little bit of gating.
A little bit of gating.
The beauty of the gate or downward expander on this Vorsys is you can dial in what's called the range. Do they call it the range?
I don't know. This isn't my piece of equipment. What are you putting me on the spot for?
They call it the depth. They call it the depth. But what that does is allows you to control how much background room sound still gets through when the gate is closed.
Yeah.
So the gate's not closed, it's halfway open. So that can be useful. And if you're doing post-processing for, let's say, like a book, I know book. What is it? What's the big book? ACX.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They do not like hearing gating. They don't like hearing noise floor and room tone disappearing between phrases. So if you are going to use any kind of a gate or expander, make sure it's one that has that ability to control the depth or the range, so that you don't end up removing everything out of the middle.
And if it's audiobook, you really want to send just clean and raw, because anything that's if there's perceptible changes in the processing, it's going to be sort of wearing on the listener. It's a different kind of listening to listen for 8 hours in a row
on headphones.
Right.
It's got to be one of the very few voiceover genres that's listened to primarily with headphones, I would think.
True.
You know,
and I have one coming up, and I'm dreading it.
Yeah. We're getting a lot of interesting questions in the chat room tonight about can you do this in post? Can you do that in post?
What
you
are
can
they?
do anything in. Well, somebody's saying, can the lower frequency, say below 100 hertz, be rolled off in post? And how do you do that? It's called an equalizer.
Equalizer.
Or multiband compression, or in using a spectrogram. You want to get rid of that stuff that's 100 hertz and below. If there's no voice down there, you just highlight that and you can lower the volume on it or delete it completely. I've been doing that on some stuff. You'd never know because it's below, the range of the person's voice. Right. So it gets rid of some of the mechanical rumble that you can hear in there, and you can really clean stuff up pretty well using that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But I do it all in post. If I do anything in pre, it's only for this show. I mean, I'm using a compressor to send my audio from here, but that's because, like I showed in the video, this is like broadcasting. We want to be as bright and as loud as possible. But when you're sending something out, it's not your job, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true.
It's very, very difficult to wear, especially when you're acting. It's a performance. It's not just
that's right.
An
you don't
announcing
want to worry about that stuff.
Yeah, that's too many hats to wear. You want to be free. And so if you're worrying about what you sound like, and also there was somebody said, what if I had some sort of a headphone processor that made me sound all processed in my head? You don't want to be in your head. Yeah. You want to be free.
I don't want to be in his head either.
That's a music thing. Musicians do that. Yeah. That's pretty common to actually have reverb and stuff in your cans when you're performing, so you can hear that sound that you would feel if you were live on a stage. But the engineer is not tracking the reverb. That's you know what? You may find a trick that works for you and it evokes the performance, and good for you. There are no like yes and no kind of rules. But
yes, there are.
Generally, I'd say unless you've done this before with success, I wouldn't even think about trying it.
Yeah, but some things that are strange work. There are people that do. I've known people that will do reads with their microphone pushed down to the floor, lying on their back.
Oh, okay.
Just like, I have to be so relaxed for this.
I call it the bed read.
The bed read.
Or the in-bed read.
I think it was Pat Fraley.
Oh, maybe it was.
Saying that, yeah.
If anybody did, it was him, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've done that. I remember doing some auditions in bed when I was on vacation, and my wife's like, what are you doing under there? I hear this low rumbling voice under there.
I'm playing with my microphone.
That's right. Anyway, all right. Well, we still got a few more things going on. We've got pictures of your studios. we showed yours, John. Yours is a gorgeous studio, especially with the river in the background and stuff. But we've got that coming up, and we'll take a few more questions, and we'll have a little bit more conversation with John Taylor. So stay right where you are. We'll be right back.
El Dorado Recording Services.
Randy Thomas chiming in.
This is Alex Verdi. Hi, this is Bill Ratner in Los Angeles.
Hi, this is Scott Rummel here in Yorba Linda, California.
Hi, my name is Rick Wasserman.
Hi, this is Tom Kane.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Marshall.
Hi, my name is Zurich.
Hi, I'm Mary McKittrick.
Hi, I'm Peter McHugh.
I was turned on to George by none other than Don LaFontaine, who always swore by his health.
George is absolutely awesome.
ISDN, Source Connect, Phone Patch, FTP, you name it, George has set it up.
It's really the best thing I've ever done for myself. I feel free free, safe, fearless, like anything is possible in here.
Unless you like to look for opportunities to waste time, call George.
And he did all of that, long distance over the phone and the internet.
I'm very happy with George, and I cherish
I've got my travel kit, I got my Source Connect, I've got it all going on, thanks to you.
Thanks, George. You make it easy.
El Dorado Record.
Ooh, that was fast. I forgot about my special bumper that makes it not so stressful to go back to the live cameras without anybody being prepared.
Oh, okay.
Sorry
We
about
weren't
that.
ready? What?
I wasn't ready. I did it and I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, John Taylor.
Yes, sir.
So you moved back east and you're doing radio. Tell us how your life is going out there.
It's great. I have a nice balance. I have a place that has a nice view of a river and nature, and there's swans and geese and ducks, and I thought I saw a unicorn the other day. But it's a nice spot, and I got a radio show with a friend that I've known for 25 years, Joe Rossetti, and we do a classic hits morning show on Cape Cod, which is a lovely place, part of my childhood. And so I have friends and family there, and I have ISDN, and I have the studio and a view of the water outside the window of the booth, and so it has it's a different kind of a balance in life. But I was talking to Pat Duke, a very good friend, and Stephanie Reggio. We had lunch earlier today. Great people in this voiceover.
Sweet people.
Moment. And I was just saying, you know what? That baseline terror of swinging from job to job, vine to vine, like Tarzan, is not there now. And so, I still do my auditioning and still do my work for my refill customers and people that I have on retainer. But I think I'm a little more choosy about what I audition for. And because there isn't that, baseline.
The stench of desperation.
Yes.
They
Now,
say that hurts your ability to
the
win
stink
auditions.
of desperation. And now all you can really smell on me is gin and regret.
And I hear that helps.
It does. Yeah. So, I know I just love the surroundings and the people, and but I feel this is home too. I don't feel like I'm away from home sitting here, in Southern California. So I guess I'm bi-coastal curious.
Might you get a job? Might you get a job that would actually send you back out here?
Oh yeah.
Voiceover?
Yeah. And the nice thing is the people that I'm working for on the radio, they don't require me to make any commercials for them. They're very respectful of this other.
Really?
Yeah, they don't require me to make any commercials.
Oh, okay.
So I don't do any production.
No production. Oh,
no,
awesome.
I do some imaging voices for other stations in the group. I do Rock 107. Thank you. You owe me $50.
Yeah.
But
so you're going into you're doing the old thing, because this is actually a vanishing thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where you actually get up in the morning, you get in your car and you drive to a radio station. Mm-hmm. How many other stations are under this particular studio? Is this like
4.
one station? 4. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember when it was 1 and it would be in a shack.
Yeah. No, this is quite nice, and I love my coworkers. The fellow who is the consultant to the group hired me for my first 4 jobs from the age of 19 up until I was like 30. So I've been drinking this programming Kool-Aid for a whole career. And I had some really lovely advice from some of the biggies, some of the people at the top of the voiceover food chain. And one, I don't want to say his name, but it sounds like Bo Weaver. Anyway, Bo was awesome about it. He said, you know what? You're an LA talent, ISDN and all of that puts you, you can do that from wherever you do. You've paid dues, and Hollywood isn't a place, it's a brand, and you have part of that brand. But don't think that radio is anything less. He said, give them a dime for every nickel they spend on you, and do it for your own creative, fun. And I'm having a blast doing it.
Yeah. That's so great to hear.
And that's why we're having such a fun time doing this show, because for me, this is like being on the radio again.
Yeah, well, I think you guys kind of inspired me to be able to say, that kind of improvisational, fun radio vibe, you guys kind of like reawakened that in me.
Oh, wow.
And I'll give you all the credit in the world for making me say, hey, you know what? I forgot how much fun this was, and I should be doing some of this. And then I looked at the want ads, and there were 3 jobs in America. and one happened to be with somebody I knew for 25 years, where my family is, where I grew up, and I thought, you know what?
Kismet.
Yeah, it was too many things lined up in the universe, and it was the right thing to do. And sometimes you have to do that in life, and I'm there is no regret at all. The gin I like, but the regret I don't have at all.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you're happy back here east, and but we're glad. What brings you out west for this swing?
Just visiting. Just hanging out with my friends and just taking a 5-day weekend before the ratings period. You know, when you get into these spring ratings, they say, "Oh, no days off." And
sweeps weeks.
Yeah. Well, anybody in promo knows this too. You know, you get into May sweeps. It's just like that's your life, your day and night. So I knew that was coming up at the end of the month, and I thought I need to get back west just to hang out.
What happens when you are away? Does the other host go solo? How does that work?
The other host will go solo, and I'll do the same thing. I'm not a big fan of that. I like the idea that the show is the show, and when one's away, the other should be away. But they do things differently.
Sure.
At the station, and that's their call. They're writing the checks. But this is one of the first trips where I have not taken a microphone with me at all, and so I will be at Stephanie's house tomorrow recording.
Yeah.
I just thought I would just take a total break from it.
That's awesome.
I got an invitation from a very, very nice. I had a nice invitation from a certain network that said, "We would like to hear your audition on this," and I was like, "Okay, then.
Okay,
I'll be in that studio." Steffi, can I come over? Yeah.
It's very dark in her studio, from what we saw.
Well, yeah, at the time when you did, yeah, but now
some birthday wishes, John.
I am.
Oh yes, Tuesday's your birthday, is it not?
Yeah, Susan Bernard, the beautiful, talented Susan Bernard, and Bob Hurley. Bob Hurley is a true friend, and as is Susan, of course. Yeah. And thank you guys.
Susan asked, "How did you meet Mark Fiore?"
How did I meet
I got to ask
Mark
you that.
Fiore? Oh, I just talked to him. We were on this Marketplace show on NPR. Sorry, Dan.
Yeah, that's okay. I saw it on Facebook. I tuned in. I watched it.
You know, Dan, you've probably had this with your folks, okay? Because you were raised probably not to do this, right? You're going to be.
I was raised to do not a lot of things, but
right. They were like, "What do you do? What is it? Radio? What are you talking to a microphone? You do voice? What is this?" I can't.
Yeah,
what do I tell the neighbors? And then finally, we had this piece that was a Mark Fiore cartoon that was on Marketplace, the American Public Media show that comes on after.
This is Marketplace.
Yeah, it's a serious show about business.
It's the Liberal Business Report.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's doing the theme there, so he's obviously been inculcated into the liberal bastion of liberal economics. But anyway, they played this whole thing, and I called my father because I knew that was a show my dad would do in-car listening. We'd be like, "Yeah, we'll meet you over at the diner at 6:30," and then where's Dad? He's in the car. Marketplace is on.
Yeah.
So my dad's
driveway moments.
Yeah, for 20 years he's been. So finally, like last week, I called him up. "Hey, Dad, did you hear that I was on Marketplace?" "Yes." And I was like, "How did you know?" "I knew it instantly." And they replayed it. I invited the neighbors over. And so finally, my dad gets an idea of what I do. So
isn't that cool?
It kind of is.
All these years go by, and then you have this validation.
Yeah. Oh, well, if he's on Marketplace, it must be special.
That's right.
Up in the previous 32 years, it's been a big question mark. My son, the failure. But now he's on Marketplace. He must be somebody. Yeah. No, my dad isn't that way. But I think it just kind of, for me, it was a point of pride. How did I meet Mark Fiore? It was an online auditioning thing. It was just an online auditioning thing. And then it just became a relationship with him. And also my friend Stephanie, who does a lot of singing and characterizations, does all the female voices for him. So we've created our own little creative family. Which is just, that's the way, that's what you want to do.
And he went on to win a
Pulitzer Prize winner in 2010, the first time it was given to a cartoonist who did flash animation to political cartoons. Before it had just been like one panel.
So he was a groundbreaker.
He really was. And he just got back from New York where he judged the Pulitzers, which I guess you do after you win.
Yeah,
and he said that was kind of weird. But we've got some very cool projects going on with Mark Fiore that are
Is he thinking of branching out into longer forms?
There are people. As a cartoonist, it is kind of one of those, if you build it, they will come kind of things. You don't need permission so much in this world to do things, and that's the big shift. Is that you just made a movie, a short documentary piece that was in high def, that technically, and it would have cost tens of thousands of dollars.
I had to rent a package
15 years ago.
Everything.
And so you didn't need permission to go out and do this thing. You just showed up
only from my wife.
Can I borrow your camera, honey? Do you have a deposit? Maybe I'll let you use it. But yeah, so now you don't need permission to do things. There's copyrights and permission to shoot on a street or whatever. But you don't need the permission of a big entertainment establishment to create something. And now, when you create something and you'd like to get the funding from a big entity, what they're basically saying to you is, how big's your following?
Yeah.
Right?
They want to have their cake and eat it too.
They want you to create grassroots interest, and you've found this out with your friends from up north, that, when you have this following, if there's people that are interested in what you're saying, then you can actually parlay that into something else. And we've seen it with lots of online entities, people that said, you know what, I'm just going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So just do it.
There's two different ways to go about, producing something, but the best way these days is just to make the thing.
Mm-hmm.
At any cost, at any level of quality, just make it. Get it done and get it out there.
And going back to what we said about Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry, you feel guilty about taking $100 million? No, I did it for free for 10 years. Mm-hmm. And so what?
That's right.
So what if you suck? It better that you're sucking without a huge budget.
That's big.
Yeah, no, but I mean, there used to be places where people could be terrible, and then
here.
Well, and why not? But get better. There was small market radio. Now it's all automated. It's now all satellite, and there's nowhere where you can go and just be bad. Every comedian who's come up, nobody just says, you know what, I think I'll be a comedian today. No, they had to suck and bomb and just completely just die on stage at least 100 times. In radio, they would say, you're nobody till you've been fired 4 times.
I listened to Ashton Smith say I got fired at the top.
Right.
Hey, I hold the modern day record, being fired 16 times in 1 year.
Wow.
I'm really successful.
But that
means I also got hired 16 times.
Yeah, the perseverance part of it. And, as much as the people at the top or the middle would like to say, gee, there's all these new people coming into this, maybe I should discourage them all.
Not really.
But because it'll dilute. No, you know what it is? You're gonna bring something unique. You want to bring something uniquely good, but you're going to bring something unique in voiceover. So I'm not going to be better at being you than you are.
That's right.
That's right. We're all snowflakes. Everybody's totally unique. And as Mark Cashman loves to talk about, he says, you may not have gotten this particular spot, but they have a saying in the automobile sales business that there's an ass for every seat.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's plenty of work out there. And then, somebody mentioned about the peer-to-peers. There's just so much stuff out there. And if you're trying to concentrate on these big gravy jobs, you're missing making a living. And it's an important thing because there's tremendous amounts of opportunity and work out there. And I know because I get it every day, and other people seem to be getting it, so it must be available.
Yeah, exactly. We're getting a prop.
Prop?
Yeah, we're getting a prop for our Harlan Hogan promo spot.
Are you bringing back the oven mitt?
Yeah. No. John is going to do a live on-air unboxing of the new Harlan Hogan Portabooth Pro.
Ooh, cool.
Can I bring it on the plane?
Right. Totally, man. Okay, here we go.
All right.
So you rap while John peels tape.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So anyway, we're talking about family. We're talking about what a great community we have here. One of the top people in it is Harlan Hogan, H2 to those of us that know him well, and nice enough to sponsor our show. And in return, we tell about his fantastic website where you can get the best stuff there is, like the Harlan Hogan VO1A. And now coming out of the box. As soon as we get the cardboard out of the way.
I think it's a luggage tag or something. We're going to find out.
Yes. This thing will fit in the luggage compartment above your seat on your average Southwest Airlines plane. Not on one of those little commuter jets, although I did get one. I did get it in there. But this is Harlan's pride and joy. Aside from the VO1A, it is the Harlan Hogan This is the Porto Booth Pro
Mark II, I guess.
Mark II.
I think he did some subtle improvements.
No, they're a little bit more than subtle. This is having the first generation of this. There was great things. It has a brighter light in it. I know
Look
that.
at this cool new light. This is like those Mighty Bright style lights.
Right.
And it probably has a little tag to keep the battery from discharge. Oh, no. It has no batteries, but I bet there may be batteries in that bag somewhere.
There probably are.
But
Or
it
you
runs
pull a
on
tab or something.
runs on three AAAs.
AAAs, okay.
I know these lights. They're very good.
Yeah, and but it's real easy to assemble. It's super. It's a little hard to get out of the bag, but
It's new. It's not broken in yet.
That's right. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Come on.
This was very spontaneous, by the way. I mean, literally, I just said, John, go open that thing.
Look at this.
The Harlan Hogan Porter Booth Pro Mark II.
So the things that I understand he improved, it's stiffer, so it has more.
I can see that already. Yeah, it would tend to lean to one side sometimes, so you'd have to take a pillow and line that up.
Right.
But the fact is, guys, actually, if you're having small acoustic problems in your home studio, this is a great little thing to have in your home studio as well, because it does dampen very, very nicely. And there's a couple of little tricks and techniques that I've learned along the way of how to use this, and maybe Harlan and I can do a little webinar on that one of these days. But the idea of this thing is to dampen your voice, and so it doesn't bounce around all over the room.
Yeah, we're not going to assemble it right now, but
they might take you.
Okay, but what if you just demonstrate the difference?
All right, put the mic in there.
Yeah.
Can you get it all the way down there? It'll lean way down.
Yeah, you've got the long thing in there.
You can do this. You can do this.
All right.
Wow, that's amazing. Now I'm talking down the wrong side of the mic.
Yes, you are.
Oh, listen to this. The warmth.
I think that's the back.
Oh, that's the back. Oh, yeah, that's much better. Okay,
talk at a normal distance. Talk at a normal distance as you would talk to the mic.
I'm addressing the mic. Hello, microphone.
Hello, Mike.
Hello, Mike. Hey, how you doing?
It's a much drier sound.
It is a much drier sound, and if you're on the road and you want to get that consistency, it might be an improvement over making huts in rooms. This is great. Sounds terrific. And there's a slot in the back to push the microphone through. You've got a slot for your cord. You can put a stand in the bottom here. You can't really see.
I understand that there's this thing can now be hung off of a mic boom arm very easily.
That's been stiffened, and that makes it a little bit easier to do that.
Optional anti-sway strap, I think, is
very nice, and I like the quality of it. Very nice.
There you go. The Harlan Hogan VO1A available at
voiceoveressentials.com. So
thanks for participating.
Yes.
Thanks for being patient while we have a little vaudeville act over here.
I felt like Lucy trying to unpack this thing. Help me, Ethel, help me.
It's always more authentic when you do it live on camera completely for the first time.
Okay. Thanks for the gift, guys. It's been a nice birthday
you're
this
very
year.
welcome. Just throw that over there on the floor. Just drop it.
Yeah, but that also packs down nice and tight, and you can throw your underwear in there too. So
yeah, actually, you can actually pack a computer, a microphone, and a lot of
cables
gear inside the foam inside the thing. So
very nice.
I have,
and it
works great.
Just tell people you're going bowling.
That's right.
And it comes with a
strange looking ball.
It comes with a gong. I made that up. It doesn't come with a gong.
Thank you, Harlan, for your support of our show.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
VoiceOverEssentials.com. Well, he got about 4 spots out of that one.
Yeah,
anyway.
Well, we were off the air a couple of weeks in here and there, so we had to make up for it.
That's true. Make goods. Okay, so I think it's time for pictures of your studios of the week. What do we have up this week, George?
Well, we got pictures from Eric
Espinosa.
Espinosa. Blah, blah, blah. Eric Espinosa. He is a very near and dear to us because he provides all of the show notes. I asked one time a couple of months ago, could somebody help with this? And he stepped right up. So here are the photos. Let me get them on the screen, frame it up, and make it so you can see the entire frame, which will just take me a momento.
Nice. I like the colors.
Yes.
And the
yes,
plug.
everybody likes putting our picture in these pictures.
Hey, they know how to get our attention.
They do.
So there we go. This looks like the front end.
Product placement.
Yeah, the front end.
Yes.
The Post-it notes and a PC laptop. Then we have a sleeping bag, it looks like. The sleeping bag booth.
Studio made by North Face.
Yeah, well, sleeping bag booths
Available
actually.
with EMS.
Works great.
I never thought of saying to use a sleeping bag, but they're
perfect.
light, but they're very fluffy and will really make a nice dead sound.
Yeah, I've experimented with inflatable mattresses, and those work stupendously.
Really?
Really?
Imagine an inflatable mattress with a sleeping bag on it.
Ooh.
So here's the next shot. This is okay. Now we're getting to see the business end here. So this must be tucked away in the corner here behind that sleeping bag.
Yep.
Looks like an Audio Technica 2020, if I'm correct, because it has the USB plug unplugged.
Yes,
That's
that would
what
be a
looks like.
2020 USB.
Yeah, which is a very inexpensive yet very quality sounding mic. It's a great starter voiceover mic. And
what is that stuff on the wall? It looks like a couple of pans of cinnamon rolls.
No.
It is actually. Those work marvelously well. We found out. Now that looks like is that Sonex or is that actual?
No.
One of those is bed foam.
Those look like bed. Those both look like bed foam. And that all looks like bedding foam.
Yeah. Now, bed foam is okay, but it's not the same chemical compound as Oralex or some of the other compounds.
Right.
It's
not dense.
He's taken our advice, understands that sound will reflect off the ceiling, especially a popcorn stucco ceiling as he has, and I'm sure that deadens things rather nicely.
So he installed a big fluffy cloud, a big pillow cloud, which is brilliant, which is very clever.
Yeah.
Well done. I love it. I love this kind of stuff. This improvising is brilliant.
People don't need to see where the sausage is made.
No, this is your home studio. Show of hands, how many of you in the chat room have been asked to send in pictures of their studios with by their clients?
Never.
Anybody?
Never, not once.
Anybody? No, I don't think so. And there's the business end.
That's right.
So thank you for those pictures.
You know what we need to have Harlan Hogan come up with?
What's that?
Is a porta-bed, porta-booth. A Harlan Hogan Murphy bed that when you put it, you can just drop it down out of the wall for sleeping, and then you can fold it up into the wall and then bring the sides in, sides out for a Murphy bed, porta-booth.
Why not?
Harlan Hogan Industries. Work on that, Harlan.
Yeah. No, you came up with it first, John.
Harlan does an excellent job of taking things from a creative idea and getting together things like production and actual, that's a lot of work. I just do this for fun.
Harlan, is it really worth it? I mean, are you really? Is it making money for you? Honestly, I have to ask you: is it really making money? I mean, I hope so.
I hope so too. I think
it's
anybody who comes up with good ideas that are executed as well and with quality materials should be making some money off of it. It's reasonably priced, but I'm sure he's built in something for Harlan.
He's doing something right because he's sponsoring us. I mean, he wouldn't be throwing money. He's a smart man. He would not be throwing money.
We shouldn't be talking about him.
Sure we can.
He's not here to defend himself.
We don't make fun of him.
But
We're thrilled to have him around.
I want the Harlan Hogan porta-bed, porta-booth. Just that would so solve so many space problems for people.
Porta-bed, porta-booth.
The porta-bed, porta-booth, bada bing, bada boom.
Hey, you can make it a porta-potty too, and then you'd be able to sleep and be able to go to the bathroom, and you'd have an enclosed booth. See how creative you get when you just start getting on the right topic?
Yes, and you could do incontinence voiceovers.
Who's trying to get my attention?
Somebody.
Pat Whithart. Okay.
That's Stephanie.
Yeah, it is.
Stephanie, the beautiful and talented Stephanie Riccio. What did she write?
She just wanted to let us know she's watching.
I
wish I could have known that.
She's number 44.
Yeah, she's awesome. Don't worry, Stephanie, you can rewind the show afterward and watch the whole thing again.
Porta bed, porta booth, bada bing, bada boom. Think about it, Harlan.
Thank you for the photos, and thank you for everybody who's helped contribute to the show. We've told you how you can make donations. We shopped at ewabs.com.
The East West Audio Body Shop.
Where they have the new East West Audio Body Shop home torture kit.
We do.
We're working on it.
Waterboarding kit.
That's
we're
right.
Working on it.
Yes.
And we're on iTunes. If you like listening to radio and you want to hear us in a radio format, you can go to iTunes. And I go through and I clean up things. I'll tighten it up a little bit. I edit it. And then we're on YouTube. And I tried SoundCloud, but SoundCloud only lets you do 2 hours for free. And I'm not ready to pay for another subscription right now.
No.
I did try SoundCloud out, and it's cute and all, but
I'm using it.
For I think for posting up samples and demos and stuff.
I do my radio remotes. I take my phone and I do a SoundCloud, and I put it up on the SoundCloud, and then on our Mornings on Cool 102 Facebook page. I don't call in any remotes. My SoundCloud has them all. Our interviews, like when we just did an interview with Don McLean from American Pie fame, we put it up on SoundCloud. So and said later in the show, hey, if you missed that Don McLean interview this morning, it's up on SoundCloud on our morning show. So it's and they give you hours of audio for the money. So it's actually not and it doesn't matter what format it is.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not about data. So it's not a bad deal. Think about it.
It's like, is it fair to call it the YouTube of audio?
Yeah, you could say it. It is the YouTube of audio. It works very, very well. And I go off and do all sorts of things out in the community with this phone, which sounds great on SoundCloud because it's not phone technology. It's recording technology.
Right. It's using the best of the microphone available to your phone.
Yeah, and we just post it up there. And by the way, we are on Facebook on Mornings on Cool 102. So if you ever want to check it out,
I'll write that down.
Yeah, Mornings on Cool 102 on
Cool
Facebook.
102. All right. Yeah, and speaking of,
is John Taylor and Joel Rossetti. Don McLean.
Yeah, get out of here. We don't believe you. You don't sound like him at all.
The American troubadour himself.
Yes, we are.
All right, there you go. There was Don McLean from the SoundCloud.
All right. I'll have to give that a listen.
Thank you.
Yeah. By the way, a couple of quick things. Some people were asking about this shirt that I've gone to an aeronautical motif. This is a Hawaiian shirt. This one was made in Hawaii. Somebody got me a bunch of good Hawaiian shirts for my birthday a couple months ago, and I was able to break this one out, even though it's World War I aircraft.
Is that a Sopwith Camel?
It's a Curtis Jenny and a Sopwith Camel and a Spad and all my favorite. I used to love World War I airplanes. Not quite that old.
Back when you were a flyer?
Yes.
Back when you were a doughboy?
Anyway, also, I got a notification from our friends at I won't give their initials, but it's B&H in New York, that the mic was available from Epigee, and I have been waiting for over a year for this freaking thing. And I got a notification, buy it, boom, before anybody else does. Boom. So next week, I should have the Epigee mic.
Nice.
Not the mic, just
Mike.
Yeah,
I've only seen one in the wild so far, so I can't wait to see what you think of it.
They're palm wonderful.
They are.
They're palm wonderful.
They are palm wonderful.
Should we poke a fork in this thing?
I think it's done.
I think it is. All right. So next week on March 18th, we will be returning here. Do we have somebody lined up for next week?
Bo Weaver?
Bo Weaver will be with us.
I think so.
Next week in the house.
I don't have his name written in blood on the calendar, but I believe he said anytime was the words actually that he.
And he's got the technology.
True.
That is a guy who is kept up with everything. He's always on the cutting edge.
That's why I like him on the show.
Very dear, sweet
person. And he's
person.
a cool dude.
Yeah.
Yes. And if any of you guys have any ideas or questions for tips of the week, I can't keep coming up with these every week. Yes, I can.
I mean, you've had a heck of a run. I mean,
I know.
Really
what is that, 6 in a row I was able to do?
I think so.
And I'm keeping them on my website, and I think they're on YouTube. So if you ever want to watch those, you can do that. But Bo will hopefully be with us next week. In 2 weeks, live from FAFCON. FAFCON 4 or 5?
4.
FAFCON 4.
And I think my computer is now stable enough, because we made it through the whole show, that I could probably do our live FAFCON with this machine, which I'm really excited about.
Excellent.
Multi-camera switching and titles and, ooh, boy.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing
excited.
everybody, too. Cannot wait to go to FAFCON. It's nice to go out to California and see everybody and And that should be fun. And we're going to be doing it live. So the show's actually going to be live a little earlier on the 25th.
Live to tape.
Live. No, I think we're going to do it actually live. We're just going to go on earlier.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, because there's not enough time to package it and then restream it. So yeah, we are going to do it live early.
It's going to be totally live.
I'll try to give you guys enough,
warning,
preparation for that.
Right. Anyway, wow. If we can sign off at exactly 10:30, 7:30.
What will that mean?
Well, that would mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
I'm late for my mojito.
We've been recording for an hour and 15. Let's end it at right an hour and 15 and 15.
Okay.
14.
All right. You guys have yourself a great week. We will see you next Sunday night.
Bye,
I'm Dan Leonard in the
Stephanie.
East.
Bye, Diane.
I'm George Wood
Bye,
in the
Bob.
West.
And all together we
Bye,
are
Susan.
East West Audio Body Shop.
We're Palm Wonderful.
Palm Wonderful.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.